The second essay, a part of King Solomon Mind series, is a comparative analysis of two subjects, distance and height. This segment was filmed each day for 2 weeks on Kinburn's Spit Island in Black Sea and also at the top of Berlin Television Tower, a monumental erection which used to be one of the most significant landmarks of the former socialist bloc. The second essay was shot in April and August of 2001. At the beginning of the 20th century, Ferdinand de Saussure, in his lecture on psycholinguistics, referred to a unique photographic exhibition he had visited in the late 19th century. It featured work of one Polish artist who had been taking self-portraits regularly throughout his mature years. He willed his family to show those images after his death. This man made pictures on the 1st and 15th of every month to document his gradual aging following the principle of still-frozen cinematography. He was the first one to perform what we easily do nowadays with digital video cameras in the frame-by-frame filming mode. A minute-long video can easily reveal the entire process of plant seed growth, from its germination to the formation of buds, or it can show the sun rise, move across the skies and then go down. In cinema, the most impressive accelerated representation of aging and dying is offered in Peter Greenaway's The Zoo. Filmed in step motion, it reveals at regular speed the rotting of an apple, or zebra's or monkey's corpse. For the medieval alchemist's mind, cinema may seem an elixir of immortality. 100 years of magic practice and alchemical experimentation in an effort to find philosopher's stone and the immortality led to the invention of cinema. And the fact that Hollywood fantasies program our future does not seem to amaze us any longer. To millions of viewers, their beloved film stars like Charlie Chaplin, John Wayne, Marlon Brando, or James Dean are still alive on the screen at various ages, although this may be a poor consolation to their relatives. How old is Greta Garbo or Elizabeth Taylor? No one can say. In the morning they are 60 and at night twice as young. It depends on which of their films ran on TV last. Slightly profaned, Fedorov's idea of the ancestors' reanimation are thus realized, even if they sprinkle the magic Macropolis remedy only on actors, professional bards of human souls. One question remains: is it ethically justified to create virtual 3D copies of cult actors, thus providing them with new comfortable reincarnations in their own or similar bodies? After all, cloning does not reproduce or replicate the essence. The original and his copy are only monozygotic twins living non-synchronously. Imagine Romulus living after Remus, or Castor older than Pollux, or Tweedledee older than Tweedledum. Let's go back to the photo exhibition. If we observe the image of the photographer recorded twice a month, the question arises: what happened to him between the 1st and the 15th? Or between 15th and the 1st, during these linking points or in distinct time zones? In my opinion, it's not demonstration of principle of cinema. It's just that curious mind is examining a film frame under a magnifying glass, with each next frame impossible to distinguish from the previous one. By filming myself every day over a period of 2 weeks, I wanted to fill in the gap between the 15th and the 1st. I wanted to add some substance of indiscernible into a miracle of living life, still only in order to record it even in greater detail. How can we see any difference in identical objects? In these zones, of course, the consciousness focuses on nuances, trying to single out objects from amalgamated mass. It all looks like a simple riddle to find 10 visible distinctions. Looking at photos of the same person is striking because of the age difference they reveal. Our eyes, following the pendulum principle, immediately focus on similarities, not differences. Most viewers would find some similarities between a little girl in a photograph and the old lady showing that photograph to them. Generally, a person with archaic consciousness cannot identify himself with his photo. But on the other hand, he can easily reveal the family features in someone who he hasn't seen since childhood, and who can turn out to be his father or mother. The opposite process, but similar results, is typical to a person with a multiple personality disorder, schizophrenia. This is what happens to the main character of Nabokov's Despair, who mistakes someone looking very different from himself for his alter ego. But what is similarity? How much depends on the object and how much on the beholder? Looking at different photos of the same person, how do we know that he looks more his real self in one of them and less in the other? Where does the eidos flow, constructed both by the beholder's consciousness and by that third person whose one photo is similar and another less similar? How did Sadko choose his bride among 12 maids all looking alike? Well, let us recall the story of King Solomon, who managed to discern boys from girls in 100 of similarly dressed children. Every child had a washing vessel set up in his or her room. Special personnel was sent over to observe kids during their washing. The boys splashed their faces with water, while the girls only merely moistened their faces with their fingertips. Maybe the water surface was an narcissistic indicator, which helped the identification. In our case, the indicator is experience of self-identification, directly influenced by the liveliness of pre-linguistic childhood. But the mirror won't help if you're between Gorgon and Eurydice. One can imagine the mesmerized spectators looking into the abyss of particular human life open wide. For an exhibition of gradual aging a century ago, we could use the metaphor of Gorgonic fossilization. Today, the astonished viewer looking at identical images of an author should instinctively turn back in search of moral support, as Eurydice's lover did, only to see nothing behind. While using the phrase "a century ago," I suddenly realized that century has passed between two exhibitions. A century is like an eye wink, like a single click of a shutter. There is a thin amalgam of feelings, a double mirror. The cause-effect relations have been mixed up. The aging picture of Dorian Gray has failed to bring immortality to the painter. The system of coordinates are floating in boundless space, relying on various denominations, epitomes, and on individual psychedelic experience. We cannot step into the same river twice, but maybe we can row against the current and then get out being the same person we were before. By the way, a few days ago, I visited a friend I hadn't seen for a month, and he told me that I had changed a lot. Later in the day, another friend of mine, who I hadn't seen for several years, confessed to me how much he was surprised to discover that I hadn't changed at all since the last time he saw me.